Hey, welcome back, everyone. It is Monday morning. It's weather for Weather Geeks time. Hope you had a good weekend. We had our, of course, snowstorm on Saturday that, for the most part, behaved as expected. The warmer air got a little farther north than we originally thought, so we even had some light rain or drizzle at the end of the system towards the early evening hours on Saturday. But the snow totals were in the ballpark of what we expected all along. We started advertising this very early last week as a 3 to 5 kind of a storm, and a lot of us got somewhere between 3 and 5 inches. Here's a look at the current snow depth. Hopefully this shows up well enough for you on your computer screens. And got the counties marked here, and you'll notice that the amounts, hopefully again you can see this, get a little lower in southeastern Columbiana County, where we had much more mixing and even a changeover to rain earlier in the afternoon than the rest of us. So down towards East Liverpool, yeah, I'm sure we got a quick inch or even 2 inches in a few spots. But then the changeover to rain did occur, and that pretty much ended the accumulations down here. So our snow depth now is generally down under a couple of inches in southeastern Columbiana County. The blues get a little darker north of Route 30, up through the rest of the WFMG viewing area. And again, a general 3 to 5, 5.5, something like that is what most of us saw. At my house in Boardman, I had probably just a little shy of 4, somewhere in that ballpark. Although I didn't get a great measurement. I wasn't home for a great measurement before the drizzle started and started to compact the snow. So that's just an estimate on my part. But anyway, so that storm's over, and it behaved pretty much as expected. All right, let's talk about, let me quit out of this, and then let's talk about what's going on right now. Here's the radar as I record this morning at about 8:17 a.m. The first in a series of Alberta Clipper systems missing us this time. The next couple will not miss us, but this one is producing some light snow this morning. Columbus, Dayton, Cincy, down towards the Ohio River, Parkersburg, Marietta. There's going to be some local 1-inch amounts, maybe up to 1.5 inches or even 2 in a few spots. But this is cruising in a southeasterly direction and is a miss for us. We have cold and some clouds, and there's been some lake effect snow showers still lingering up in Geauga County, Lake County, even northern parts of Trumbull County, and even over the next hour or so you could see a flurry, especially north of I-80. But snow's not the big deal just yet. It is the cold. This is the 8 o'clock temperature, 11 at the Youngstown Warren Airport. Here's the wind chills. It feels like -2 right now at the airport, and it feels like pretty close to 0 just about everywhere across northeast Ohio and western Pennsylvania. As I zoom out, of course, the wind chills are a little worse up in Canada, where in some spots it feels like, -30, -35. So it's all a matter of perspective. All right, now we've got a couple of Alberta Clipper systems heading our way. So I thought what I would do is show you the simulated radar as we take a look at these. We'll start out with this evening. This is at 5 o'clock this evening, and the first of these clippers is pushing into the western part of the Great Lakes early this evening. Then later on this evening, here's midnight, and here's where this band of snow will be at midnight, generally from Detroit to Toledo and Fort Wayne, heading over towards Cleveland, and then starting to push into the Mahoning Valley as well. So that's midnight. Roll ahead a couple of hours here. Let me take off my drawing tool. There we are at 2 a.m., and this is when the snow is probably coming down at a pretty good clip across most of the region. So this is while most of us are asleep. It'll be while I'm just about to get up and ready to come to work. But for most of us, this comes during the wee hours of tomorrow morning. And this is going to be one of those situations where, even though this system is fairly moisture-starved, the snow ratios are going to be pretty high. And what I mean by that is, oftentimes you hear that an inch of liquid or an inch of rain is equivalent to about 10 inches of snow. It's a 10-to-1 ratio. Well, that's often the case, but not always. And these Alberta Clipper systems tend to have a higher snow ratio. So in other words, you can get more snow out of less moisture than normal. So this might be a 15 or even 20-to-1 ratio. In other words, an inch of liquid precipitation with this kind of a storm would give you 20 inches of snow. Thankfully, we're not getting an inch of liquid precipitation out of this, but we'll get enough that the ratios will be high enough that we're going to get a couple of inches of snow in a lot of places overnight tonight, making things slick for the morning. Here's 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now, the snow will be winding down at this point. There's not going to be much happening by 7, other than some very light snow or flurries, but overnight, a couple of inches of snow will have accumulated. Roads are probably going to be a little slick, any untreated roads. There may very well be some 2-hour school delays Tuesday morning because of this. That's clipper number 1. The second one then approaches in the afternoon. Now, this one looks a little less organized to me, but still, By early afternoon, say 1 o'clock, it'll be in western Ohio. That puts it on track to between 2, 4, 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Round number 2 of snow pushes in, and this one could bring us another inch. I don't think 2 inches is quite as likely with this second one, but someone might get 2 out of this. So again, just kind of recap. Couple of inches, pretty likely tonight in most of the area. Tomorrow afternoon, another inch, possibly 2, giving us a grand total between the two systems of 3, 4 inches of snow, maybe even 5 in some spots. Definitely adding to our snowpack. All right, let's talk about again, just real quickly reviewing the snow forecast here on the NAM model. This is for the first one. When you see the blues, we're over 2 inches, and this is based on a 10-to-1 ratio, so it's probably going to be a little higher than this. So does someone even get 2.5 out of this tonight? Yeah, I can't quite rule that out, just depending on where exactly this thing decides to track. So enough to shovel in a lot of spots tonight with a couple of inches, and then we'll add on tomorrow afternoon maybe another inch in a few spots, giving us a total of 3 or 4, maybe even 5 in some spots. Quick review of the first half of December before we talk about the rest of this week, because now we're officially halfway through the month, and no surprise, it's been cold in most of the country. The only warmer than average spot so far this month, the extreme deep south and down into Florida, where it's been a beautiful December so far. But look at the departure from average up here in the upper Midwest. 10 degrees below average for the first half of the month in parts of the northern Rockies, northern plains, and up into the prairies of Canada. And I posted this on my blog, Eric WFMJ, earlier. Here's a look at snow for the first half of December going back to 1930 each year. Notice the big spike here in 2010 where we had an exceptionally snowy December. But here's 2013 right here, the current year. And as you can see, it's above a lot of years, but not unheard of. Overall, we are in 10th place out of the last 81 winters. 10th place in terms of snowiest starts to December. So only 9 opens to December have been snowier than this one going back to 1930 here in Youngstown. All right, let's talk about the end of the week. It's going to warm up and rain at the end of the week. Let me fast forward to Friday. Not much goes on for Wednesday and Thursday. Then Friday, this will be rain and not snow. And so this is going to erode a lot of our snowpack. Temperatures Friday may get well into the 40s, mid-40s probably. Now, the models do have some differences beyond Friday as we head into the weekend. But the bottom line is I think it's going to try to rain again. The European model here, this is Sunday evening, has more rain pushing in. The GFS does not. I suspect the European is going to be right this time. It has the support of some other modeling. And so especially if we get this second round of rain by early next week, as we get close to Christmas, not going to be much snow left on the ground at all, especially if we get 2 rounds of rain. Let's talk about Christmas briefly. We're coming up on the 8-minute mark of this video, so I don't want to ramble on too much longer. The GFS does have perhaps a little bit of snow coming our way next Monday. Wouldn't be much. European doesn't have much at all. And then Christmas Eve, here's Christmas Eve. The European here has just a little bit of snow, some flurries around. GFS pretty quiet. Then Christmas Day, the GFS has a little bit of snow pushing back in while the European is dry. So obviously we have our work cut out for us on the Christmas forecast. But one thing we can say with a fair amount of certainty, after the warm-up and rain at the end of this week, there's not likely to be much snow left on the ground right before Christmas. If we're going to get a white Christmas, we're going to need to see some snow falling out of the sky right around Christmas time, because what's left on the ground is not likely to be much. All right, thanks for sticking with me on Weather for Weather Geeks today. I'll see you at midday today. 21 News coming up at noon.